What's going on? It's time for another episode of Too Hard for the Radio, transmitting from the future free state of Greater Idaho. I am the one-armed madman, and with me today, we got Daniel Steele back in the house. What's up, dude?
Thanks for having me back.
Oh, of course, man. I love talking with you.
A lot has changed since the last time I saw you.
I know, right?
I do want to do one podcast with my other one-armed friend, and we can call it Three Guys, Four Arms or something like that.
That'd be great. I was actually talking with my buddy the other day. He's just buying a new dirt bike for the first time, and I was talking about, like, I want to get a new bike, and this is what I'd like to get, but, you know, I'd have to pay an arm and a leg for it, and I don't think I can ride with one leg.
Oh, that's great.
So how's it been going, man? I hear you said you got a little dog making your life miserable.
Yeah, so we got a Havanese, and the breeder, like when we went and picked him up, she's like, when we walk in, he won't stop screaming until we pick him up. Isn't that cute? They showed us how they train separation anxiety into him. And the dogs generally come with a little bit of separation anxiety as it is. But like I can't go to the bathroom without this dog yelling. So it's been like a month of hell, basically. But he's a Havanese. Have you heard of them?
No.
All right. So Havanese are the only dogs native to Cuba. I think they come from like the Bashan family, and then they started breeding them, and they made them specific to Cuba. And they're like little clown entertainers, and they were meant mainly for royalty and rich people. So when the communists came, they had to make it a level playing field for everybody. So they just started killing all the dogs.
Communism. It's a beautiful thing.
So like the people that escaped pulled some out, and then one dude went and grabbed like 20 of them and pulled them out. So it's like this super clean bloodline of these little clowns that are they're super sweet. Like, this dog is great. He's 12 weeks old now. He's potty trained. Like, he has a lot of good things going. But if you leave the room, he fucking screams.
Oh my god.
So
that's funny. So like, I've got a Jack Russell Terrier, and he makes my life like great and miserable all at once. And so when he was a little puppy, he would like hang out on my chair, and I was married when I got him, and like I had just gotten hurt, so I was just in the chair for most of the day, and he'd just lay, and he's this tiny little thing. He's a Jack Russell, so he's like a couple pounds. And my wife would ex-wife would bring me over like dinner to the chair, and he would start like growling at her, and it was like wagging his tail, and we're like, oh, that's funny. Like, he doesn't want you to come near me, you know? And it was just a funny thing because it's a puppy. And then it just got out of control to the point where like, he attacks me if I go near his food. Like, I can't put his food anywhere in the house because I've got tenants. So like, if they wouldn't go near his food, then he's going to attack them. So it's just been a nightmare. And you know, it sucks to be a tenant because you're getting woke up at 3 o'clock in the morning, and there ain't a goddamn thing I can do about it. You know, the interesting thing about, so I'm writing a sci-fi novel, and like my main character, one of his last straws with like the government is that there's a new disease that goes around, a new pandemic, but it only affects animals right now. So it's called cat scratch fever. So essentially all your dogs and cats get this disease, and we got to kill them because we can't make it, you know, jump over to human. And it's just
sounds like Cuba.
Exactly. Like, it's so wild. Like, that's just what you would do in communism.
Yeah.
Hey, we don't have enough money, so we just got to, you know, I'm doing I'm suing disability because they fucking screwed me early on in my injury. And one of the things that I had to, like, this questionnaires, they wanted to know how many pets I had and if I took care of them myself. So it's like, oh, you've got enough money to take care of a dog. What do you need us for?
Yeah.
Which is so sick.
$3 a day worth of, is it $3 a day? No, it's less than $3 a day worth of food.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had somebody recommend this food from Italy for our other dog. He was eating quinoa and duck breast.
Oh my god.
It was like $120 a month for food, and we went in with the new puppy, and we were like, should we get this kind of food for our new dog? And the lady's like, no, you shouldn't use it for your current dog. Like, that is ridiculous. You should. And she gave us, basically cut our costs in half with it. But
I was watching a podcast a while back, and somebody was doing an ad for gourmet dog food, essentially. And I'm like looking at it, I'm like, oh, let's see how much that is. And you go on, and it's like $300 a month. You're like, wait a minute. I don't know if I spend that much on my food.
Well, I think it's the, like the people that aren't having families, right?
Yeah,
So
like
like
me.
they're, well, I mean, yeah, but like the people that are like, uh, the dog becomes their identity, and then they start putting stuff on their dog because they don't have anywhere else to put that emotion or feeling. I sent you some of the new product. I don't know if your roommate tried it or not.
Yeah, yeah.
But my buddy's wife, her dad's a vet, and she's like, I want to try, like, we want to try formulating for dogs. I'm like, I have no interest in formulating for dogs. And I'm like, why? And she's like, well,
Money.
everybody thinks their dog has anxiety. So I went to my dad and I'm like, hey, dad, would this work for anxiety? And my dad was like, maybe 1 in 200 dogs have anxiety,
Yeah.
but people put their own emotions on their dogs. So you'd sell the shit out of it and it would be beneficial for the dog anyway. So yeah, you should go ahead and move forward with it.
Interesting. Yeah, I read an article about a study that was done. This was a few years ago, so I don't really remember it like to the word, but essentially they were able to pick your political affiliation based on what dog you have.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, so like Republicans are going to have more of like German shepherds and a dog that's going to
And
fucking kill you. Where like a liberal is going to be a more of a soft, fluffy dog. And then you get the libertarian who's going to have a dog like a Jack Russell who's going to be independent and have their own way of doing things. I thought that was pretty interesting.
And I'm guessing like labs and golden retrievers would go Republican because
Yeah,
it's like well, lab is a hunting dog, so you
exactly.
have to have a gun for that. And golden retriever is just like the family dog.
Yeah, yeah. Republicans and libertarians were more purposeful with their animals
Yeah.
as opposed to, the Democrat who's just doesn't really know what they're doing ever.
I got like, so our first dog that we got, my wife and I got together. He is a pit bull, wiener dog, Chihuahua, plus another 100 breeds mix. So he's like a long pit bull that's only 30 pounds
Cool.
with one blue eye and half webbed feet. But we got him because my friend runs a dog rescue, and I was like, I just want a loving, sweet dog that's not going to be more than 50 pounds.
Yeah.
And like we waited 6 months, and she called me, and she's like, hey, this dog got dropped off at the pound with parvo. I've nursed him for 6 months. Like, this is the dog for you. And we got there. She had like 15 dogs come and greet us. And this dog just like stayed with me after all the other dogs pissed off. And like, he's our baby. And now we have this Havanese. I got him, I got a small dog specifically because when we leave our other dog who hates flying, like, we got him service trained and shit, but once you get in the air, the service training goes out the window
Yeah, yeah.
completely. He's just like up in my lap shaking.
Yeah, yeah.
So like when we travel without him, we were like, my wife and I end up talking about our dog half the time. I'm like, well, let's get a dog that can travel with us. And then as we get land, we're gonna get probably a Shepherd or a Pyrenees.
I always
kind of protect it.
I always feel bad that my dog's a purebred and I bought him in another state and had him flown to my house. And I always feel bad that I do that, but like we started getting Jack Russells when I was a kid and I just love that breed of dog. And like
you know what you're gonna get.
Yeah.
Like, sure, they have their own personality, but like it's probably gonna live this long.
Yeah.
Like these are the consistents. Yeah, I appreciate that about staying loyal to a brand, right?
Yeah, it's tough. But like they're exactly like staying loyal to the foil.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's tough because they're tough dogs. It's not like an easy, like what you're dealing with right now. It's a hard, I remember we spent like $2,000 on a trainer to try and get him to stop doing this food thing. And the trainer comes over and she's like, okay, so what you're going to do is you're going to have a clicker in one hand and a bunch of treats in the other. And then you're going to,
you got a woke
to
trainer.
do this. And I'm like, well, how am I supposed to do that? Like I got the one hand. And, she's like, well, you can wear your prosthetic. And I'm like, you want me to wear my prosthetic all the time? And she essentially was just like, well, if you're not going to do the work, I'm not going to bother coming over anymore. And she just
She still kept your $2,000.
Yeah, well, I ended up putting a bad review about her on the internet. And she called me up and asked me to take it down. And I was like, go fuck yourself. And I think I ended up getting like half the money back. But,
So we did, we dropped because the mixed breed, his name's Dash. Like he was a great dog, but he had this devil inside of him, and not like mean, but it's like if we wanted to come when he was out, he would just be like, "Fuck you, I'm going."
Yeah, yeah.
So we're gonna get training, and my wife was friends with a girl who married a guy who's a dog trainer. So we signed up with him, and we dropped our dog off for 2 weeks. And it was somebody else; it wasn't the dude. And the dog came, and it was just like you feed him when he does well, and you have to hand feed him every time,
Oh,
and then you shock him when he's bad.
yeah.
And it didn't work for us. But then we ended up going to a I'll shout him out. It's called Lorenzo's Dog Training Team. They're all over the country. It was expensive, but I feel like the trainer trained us and not the dog.
That's what they're
And
supposed to do.
yeah, and there's like the correction collar, but like now our dog Dash walks at heel, goes everywhere with us. He's polite. He sits down when we hit a door. He just learned about squirrels since we moved to Nashville, so we're still working on that because he'll
Yeah,
turn
yeah.
off after a squirrel.
Yeah.
But he's a like there is good training out there, and
Yeah. It was
we're
so
taking
hard.
the little guy.
It was so hard for us because he wouldn't do any of the stuff around the trainer. Like he loves
Okay.
people, so like some new person would come over and he just wouldn't do any of it. And we're like, she's like, oh, he seems like he's fine. And we're like showing him videos, like, look at he's attacking. Like I've got bite marks all over me. Like he will bite, and he'll.
Yeah.
The crazy thing is like he's got a screw loose. So when he decides that like you're going after his food or whatever sets him off, he will not
Yeah.
stop. Like if you slap him, he will attack you and fight you to the death. So like you kind of just have to walk away, which is so
And you kinda
frustrating
respect that,
for someone
right?
like me, where I
Yeah.
just want to like stop it, you little fuck, but it just doesn't help.
Yeah.
So it's
Doesn't help
really
at
made
all.
me a more patient person because
Yeah.
it's like you just kind of have to let it roll off, and it sucks. It's like getting chewed out by your boss and just like taking it, which I was never good at.
Yeah. Yeah, that's one thing, like, personally I've been working on, is, because like, like you and I, we look deep into things, and I get, like, fucking worked up, and my buddy's like, "You can't change that. What, like, why don't you do something that you can change?" So, like, I've been working on my personal health. I've been working on learning how to grow, like, understanding how to grow food,
Yeah,
which I never did.
it's
Like
hard.
there's winter crops. I'm very happy winter crops right now.
Yeah.
And just like maybe I'll never need to rely on myself for food, hopefully. But like I'm that's something I can impact and change.
Yeah.
So I've been focused more on shit like that. But I do want to talk about some fun stuff with you too.
Yeah,
It's just that I
absolutely. Let's
can't.
get into it. I know. So, dude, so much has happened since the last time we talked, and it was like just 2 months ago, and it's like the world
Yeah.
has completely changed again. So, what do you want
Well,
to get
let's
into
talk
first?
James Yoo.
Okay, who's that?
Do you know who that?
No, I don't.
Did you see the house that blew up in Virginia a couple
No,
days ago?
I didn't.
Okay,
Uh,
so obviously because the media is sweeping it under the rug. So this guy, I'm gonna send you his LinkedIn screenshot.
okay,
But I'm gonna read it for the sake of the
sure.
podcast. James Yoo YouTube channel. U.S. is the world's biggest terrorist. Chomsky. Fuck the police. Ice Cube. NWA. Purge them. This
Whoa.
so the what I saw was the police going in to raid his house, and the house blew up. They're saying that he was firing flare guns and that made it blow up. But I'll send you a video of the
Sure.
explosion and shit.
Yeah, yeah.
But no, it's like this house was rigged for when they opened the door and blew up.
Whoa.
And this guy is the former head of global security for the Committee on Foreign Investments in the United States.
Wow.
And this was in Arlington, Virginia.
Oh man, so this is a CIA hit job.
Yes.
Whoa.
And I don't know if they scrubbed his YouTube yet. I was like, this happened, like I'm in Nashville, so I'm like, it was pretty late when it happened. I'm watching it happen. I go to his YouTube, and his YouTube was like no words, just pictures, screenshots of court cases that he had filed. And basically, he was claiming that the government kidnapped him and drugged him. They put him in a mental hospital. And I'm guessing this is all just theory and wild shit that I think, but I'm guessing he knew a lot being the head of security for the Committee on Foreign Investment in the United States. So they tried to just lock him up and drug him instead of killing him. And when they couldn't control him, they killed him.
It's like a Jack Ruby situation.
Yeah. It feels like watching a spy movie almost,
Sounds like it.
I don't even know that the dude's dead.
Oh
Because
yeah,
like,
dude. Yeah.
why would you rig your house to explode and stay in it?
And a guy like that, where's their their black box? Where's their some
Yeah.
people like that don't just not have any contingencies for something like this
Yes.
to happen. Like if you kill somebody like that that has deep information, that's why I've always like had a problem with the Epstein murder is you would think that somebody like that would have a trigger, a dead
Yeah.
man switch, where as soon as I'm out, like boom, all this stuff is going to be uploaded to the internet on wherever, and nobody's really going to be able to do anything about it.
And she is sitting in a country club.
Yeah.
Maxwell, I think, was his trigger.
Oh, you think
Like,
so? Yeah, that makes
yeah,
sense.
yeah.
That makes sense. Human trigger.
Because she's not dead,
And we don't
and
really
none
know
of
if
the
she's in prison, right? Like there's not any real pictures of her in
she doesn't
prison.
have cellmates. It's not like the news coming out about the. Have you heard about Sam Bankman-Fried, the FTX guy?
Yeah, yeah.
He like there's articles about how he's trading tuna fish for haircuts and shit like that. And there's like coverage of him in prison. Nothing about Maxwell.
Yeah. The last thing I heard about her was when she was complaining about the food. And like then again, just nothing.
Yeah.
And it's so wild that the story has essentially disappeared. Like you don't really hear
Convicted of trafficking children. Nobody.
Yeah. It's the only instance of
Somebody.
like human trafficking with no clients.
Yeah. So, a couple weeks ago, I didn't look into it, but like somebody in Congress or a senator did a freedom of information request for the Epstein flight logs.
Yeah, yeah. I remember hearing that.
And then I haven't heard anything about that. So I don't know if that guy was feeling suicidal or
Yeah,
what's
lost a
going
bunch
on,
of
but there's been no
donors.
news.
Yeah. Man. That's wild. I've been kind of like out of the loop for the past couple days because I've been balls deep into this MH370 conspiracy. Have you seen that at all?
I have no information on this.
Oh man. So it's that Malaysian flight 370 that disappeared like 14 years ago. So a video is resurfaced like in the last few weeks of like the plane going in like a deep dive in a place where it should have been based on the flight logs and the eyewitness accounts. And essentially, like in the video, these three orbs just go straight to it. They start whipping around it in circles, and then the thing disappears into a black hole.
Whoa.
Yeah, it's wild, dude. I'll have to like send you. When I first saw the video, I was like, there's no fucking way. It's just, there's no fucking way. And then after, the guy who's like digging into this is very smart. I mean, he's very smart. And you can like watch his YouTube channel every night. He just goes through this list of like things that you would have to do in order to fake this video. And it's just, he reads through it for an hour. And you're just like, how, he was on Clint Russell yesterday or the day before, I think. And Clint's even on board on this one, which I was surprised. I thought Clint was going to be a little leery on it, but it's wild. So yeah, I've been deep into that one for the past couple days now.
Have you so I when I read it makes me tired, but there's only a few books that I've like read all the way through. I've been listening to audiobooks, but
Yeah,
have you read Outliers?
I've read a little bit of it. I like the theory. I was a motocross racer, and like that's real. Like motocross and bartending are like the only things I was ever really good at, and those are the only things that I've ever put 10,000 hours into. So I always liked that theory, especially with motocross, because like it's so wild. Like I'm pretty new to politics and shit like that. So like I kind of have to try to do this. Like I have to read and I have to, and I get critical of myself for not like saying the right thing, But when it comes to motocross, like I can go on forever about motocross and just not have to think about any of it. It just pops into my head. And I kind of, that's why I've always liked that, because I see people like, Dave Smith or Clint or that can just talk about politics in the way that I do about motocross. And I find that to be a compelling narrative.
So there was that, and there's like the circumstances around people that are great. So like Bill Gates lived near a library that had the first mainframe computer that had public access.
Oh, interesting. I
There,
didn't know that.
there's a like a mining town in like Virginia or in that area where these Irish people lived. Like Irish immigrants settled there to mine, but they live like way 20-30% longer than normal without disease and stuff like that. And like the whole book goes through like all these circumstances of these great people that did great things. And then there's a chapter, it's like, here's all of these Asian flights that crashed.
Oh.
Like, what are you trying to say, Malcolm Gladwell?
Oh.
And I think
That's fun. I remember I was driving with somebody at one point that was just a normal person, just a normal person. And I got cut off by a Chinese person. I'm like, damn it. And, I just make some hacky Chinese driving joke. And she goes, well, they can't see. I go, what are you talking about? She goes, well, they can't see. Their eyes are closed all the time. And I was just like, holy shit.
wow.
That's the most racist thing I've ever heard you say.
And I don't think that person was trying to be racist.
No. It was just like, what do you, I mean, of course they can't drive as good. They can't see. Their eyes are
why
closed.
would you say that? Oh my God, that's terrible.
It was hilarious though. So another big, so AI is in the news, always in the news. This open AI thing, I dug into it a little bit, but it seems like you probably got a little bit more knowledge on this. What do you think is going on there?
I don't. I'm so confused by what happened. So I guess I'll kind of like break down a little bit of the history and how we got here. So Elon Musk held a dinner with a bunch of people, and they were afraid of what Google was going to do with AI. And they're like, we need to have another neutral party that is also researching AI because Google doesn't care. They're just going to let it loose in the world and kill everybody. Was like the Reader's Digest. So they got Sam Altman, and Sam Altman's a really interesting dude. He's a gay dude, worked his way, like he did a couple of startups, super successful, and then he became the head of the biggest incubator in Silicon Valley. So he was like arguably the most powerful person in Silicon Valley. And he left that job. He left that job. Like he was the rainmaker. Every company that he worked with did well. Like if you were trying to do the next Uber, the next Facebook, if he blessed your deal, it was blessed. And not only if he blessed it because he was like powerful, he actually went to work for the startups and he did deals behind the scenes and went to bat for him, like just a stand-up guy, right? And just like there in Silicon Valley.
And this guy, he's smart. Like a lot of these guys in Silicon Valley are not smart. They're just good at what they do, and they're able to kind of function within the ecosystem they exist. But this
they
guy's
know how
smart.
to work the ecosystem. Like, because it's just like DC. Like I've never been impressed by somebody that I've met that works in politics that isn't a politician.
Yeah.
Like the people who are fundraising or doing this like I've never been impressed by one of those people, except for the people that I know personally now still.
Yeah, sure.
Kidding. But he so there's the people that can work their way through a system, and that's fine. But this guy, there was a quote about him. If you dropped him off on a desert island with a bunch of people, like a bunch of savages, he would be the king of savages if he came back in 6 months.
Okay.
Like this guy just did shit.
Yeah.
And so they launched OpenAI as a nonprofit. And this is kind of important to the story. And it starts growing, and then all of a sudden they spit out this for-profit side, which is interesting. Like how, like Elon Musk put $2 billion in or whatever, and he got nothing for that because he donated to the nonprofit.
Yeah.
And now you have this for-profit arm, and this for-profit arm sold 49% of the company for $10 billion. This company is the fastest growing as far as number of users. Like this company is going to be $1 trillion company if it stays on course. Why would you sell almost half of it for only $10 billion? But they did. Okay.
Was that to Microsoft?
To Microsoft.
Okay.
Yeah. So this is after ChatGPT 3.0, like right when we got to know each other.
Sure. Yeah. Just
when it launched.
This is happening very fast.
Yeah. So this happened, like that sale for $10 billion. And that wasn't like $10 billion going into somebody's pocket. That was $10 billion mostly of data processing through Microsoft, because Microsoft has their own cloud servers. They're just giving them credit to run the. So it takes an enormous amount of computers to do all of this, like actual physical hardware.
Yeah.
It takes a lot to do. So Microsoft's like, yeah, we'll give you, I don't know how much in computing, then we'll give you some cash and you can grow your company, which I never understood why you would sell that. I had a theory of they thought that they were just like other people would be able to figure out what they did once they released it. So they needed to get this computing power so they can continue to grow, is my theory. Don't know that as a fact.
Yeah.
So they're going, and then they release ChatGPT 4, and then they're doing these other things. And then they do their demo day, or I forget, I think they call it demo day, or developers day, I think is what they call it. And they release a bunch of new features. And then that was on like Tuesday, and then Friday at 8 p.m. my time, I see an article that they fired him. They fired Sam Altman. What the fuck? Why are you doing this on Friday night? What's going on?
Yeah.
And over the weekend, we see, or I saw an article like, oh, they're trying to get him back. And then on Monday, they're like, Microsoft hired him and his team. And by Tuesday, 700 of 750 employees said that they were all going to work with him. So the board, this is where the nonprofit thing we circle back to, which makes it interesting. The board was structured as a nonprofit, and there were people, like it started off with like 10 or 12 people at the beginning of the year, and those people started opting out because they had conflicts. So the board was down to like 5 people.
Okay.
So you only needed, or maybe 6, and you only needed 4 votes to do anything, which is insane for a company that just raised $10 billion.
Yeah.
Like, wow. My last company that was pretty big, our board was 7 when I left, and we were doing 15 million a year in revenue. Like, definitely not $10 billion company.
Yeah.
So they voted him out. Like, and then on Monday or Sunday night before the markets opened, because like Microsoft was about to take a big dip. If you look at Microsoft's after hours chart, like their chart is like slowly going up because they're such a big company, they can't ever go up like this. Their after hours chart, there's like this big down.
Oh.
And then a big up to get them back to even, then up a little more. So Sunday night they announced that they hired him, and their stock normalized, and they actually made money off of it. Because everybody was concerned that they're putting all of this into OpenAI, because that's kind of the future of Microsoft. Tangentially, I think that Microsoft can beat Google in search if they have OpenAI, because like even now, when I was looking up what's the best way to plant mint seeds yesterday, I didn't go to Google. I went to ChatGPT.
Yeah, I use it all the time.
If I click the best way, or if I search the best way to plant mint seeds on Google, I have to go to this website, and then I get served fucking pop-ups and this and that. If I go to ChatGPT, it just tells me like, hey, soak the seeds for 2 hours, make sure they're 1 inch deep, cover it, make sure that they're getting indirect sunlight. Or that's what I remember from it. So like Microsoft can really compete with Google now, and with Sam Altman gone, Microsoft is in a really bad spot because they just put $10 billion in this company. So they announced that they hired him. So it goes straight down, straight up, even up a little bit.
Wow.
And they made like $50 billion on that up. Like that slight up is $50 billion on their stock chart. Yeah.
So here's the way I was reading the situation. And you tell me if you think I'm hot or cold. Whoever controls this company is a very, very powerful person. Maybe not so much right now, but like 10 years from now, 15 years from now.
Oh,
very powerful.
Whoever holds the keys 10 years from now. Okay. So when I'm like cold, let me explain why I said cold. Okay. So they had this board of 5 or 6 people, and they aren't people who are like known. Like the most notable person is the founder of Reddit, who also has a competing product, which at the developer day, they announced a product that makes the founder of Reddit's new product just fucking obsolete.
That's so weird to have that person on your board. You would think there would be
But
some sort of non-compete clause, you know,
and,
but
and and none of these people own stock or equity in the company. So when you think about a free market and capitalism, when people are incentivized by financial gain, you can predict how they act.
yeah.
None of these people who are on the board had any equity, any stock, or any financial gain from OpenAI doing well because it was a non-profit. So you can't predict how they act. And so, like, they did this really ridiculous thing. So what ended up happening was the board got fired. There's a new board, except for the guy from Reddit still on the board. Don't understand that.
Yeah, weird. He must have been willing to play ball.
And I think they're putting together a compensation package. And another theory that I had when they sold half of the company for $10 billion is with this going out there, like maybe what they built isn't so unique, and maybe the company isn't going to be so powerful, which got me to thinking. And my current thesis is it's not the large language models or the computing that's really powerful, it's the data that you feed it with.
Oh, yeah, just like any other system that we're working with right now, you are the product, not
Right.
the product that you're actually using. The consumer is the product.
So you have to have Microsoft in order to make this thing viable in 10 years.
Gotcha. Because
And
you got to be able
also,
to scrape all that data, store it, and
yes,
yeah. And the equipment is probably worth a whole lot more than the money. Because all those data centers, all the energy required for stuff like this, people don't realize how much energy is required for a data center. You know, to keep
yeah,
those things cool is insane, even in cold areas. Like, you
yeah,
know, we got data centers here in Boise that are running air conditioner today. It's 40 degrees outside. You
yeah,
know, it's
yeah.
wild.
So yeah, absolutely. So I think that like they have to have Microsoft for the data. And also let's take a second to think about the brilliance of Elon Musk only paying $44 billion for Twitter.
Yeah, it's amazing. And you know, I
Because
was actually going to bring this up when you were talking about people having equity in the company that they're running. I remember when he was originally looking for the CEO, and I don't know if he ended up doing this, but at one point Lex Friedman was like, "I'll do it." And he's like, "Are you willing to put your life savings into Twitter stock?" And he was like, "Yeah, I'll do that." And that's kind of
yeah,
like you know, if you're really serious about this, put your money where your mouth is.
yeah. And it's, so also Sam didn't own any of OpenAI at the time, and none of the board members did, which was really funny. So also Sam was off doing deals with like, and I'm kind of talking out of my ass here just from memory. So like,
Yeah, yeah, it's
um,
cool.
he was off doing deals for a fact, and I believe that he was in Saudi Arabia doing deals with about making new chip manufacturers to process it. So you need all this computing power to do it, and you need a new type of chip to be energy efficient, especially with all this ESG
Yeah,
communist bullshit going on. So he was off doing deals that maybe weren't beneficial for OpenAI, but he didn't own any of it. And I'm pretty sure it was with the Saudis, but I'm not like gonna die on that hill. So that was it's pretty conflicty when you get into that. And
sure.
like if I if I was on board, I would want my CEO to be focused on that thing. But since the guy didn't own any of the company, it makes sense that he's off building these like owning the entire supply chain.
And what do you think motivates this guy? Is he I want to change society, I want to help people, I want to make money, I want to have power? What kind of guy do you think he is?
Power. I
You
think it's
think?
power.
Yeah.
Yeah, because so where he lost my interest as a human being is when now he has my interest again.
Yeah.
But before all of this drama, he went and tried to pull the ladder up behind him. Like they're trying to use regulation
Yeah.
to block out any competition. And our dear leader wrote this this guy couldn't write his own name, Biden, but somebody wrote this executive order to regulate AI that Biden signed, and it just makes it almost impossible to start an AI company.
Which is what they want. That's like the point of ESG also. Like
Yeah,
if you know, I got a lot of buddies who work construction. You know, they're just doing small jobs, they're working for other contractors. If they wanted to start a big company and build these data centers and, you know, Facebook's their big campus, we've got an HP campus here. If they wanted to start a company to do that, you got to play ball with ESG. Otherwise, you're not getting any big investment. It's just never going to happen. So it's kind of like a cap on small business in a lot of ways.
Yeah,
Like if you want to go
absolutely.
from a small business to a large business, you got to play ball.
Absolutely. And I forget where we were going before that.
I do
Sorry.
too. It's all right. Well, speaking of, on more AI, I was reading a little bit here today. So Elon Musk was trying to put a new, AI center, whatever the hell, data center, whatever he's doing with AI. He was going for Atlanta and he wanted a $10 million tax cut. And Atlanta told him to go fuck himself. So now he's going to Portland, which I thought was interesting. Like, for a guy who is, pro freedom and we want to help everybody, he's just a government fucking stooge, man. He lives off the tax dollar.
He's a self-described socialist.
Yeah, essentially. It's so wild to me because, like, he's just like a perfect example of controlled opposition. Put him on the internet, he can say a couple of things that go against the narrative, and now we can call this, billionaire socialist right wing. Like that's so useful to shift like the Overton window into what right wing actually is. If you can make a billionaire socialist right wing, then like who's left of that,
Well, let's talk about, I'm gonna pull up her Wikipedia.
Sure. I love
Uh, the
Wikipedia.
C-
Wikipedia is
this
so fun to read sometimes because you just you get into it and it just makes me laugh. A lot of the time it just makes me laugh.
So the CEO of Twitter is Linda. I hope
Yaccarino.
she has her Linda. Where is her Wikipedia page? Does she not have one?
You would think she would have one. Like you would think that they would have made one the day that she took that job. Interesting. It was I don't know if you caught his interview where he told Bob Iger to go fuck himself. That was kind of funny.
Great.
I mean, that's funny. It was so funny that like the crowd didn't know how to react to it. They were just like quiet.
Oh, that moderator.
Yeah. Oh, dude, the moderator.
Goes,
that was so awesome. He was just. You can just see like his brain getting a 401 error. Like cannot compute. What do I do?
So Linda came. So she was Trump's president of Council for Sports Nutrition and Fitness, which she doesn't look incredibly fit.
Oh, none of them.
She was on Ag Council, which I don't know exactly what they do.
Make life hard for fucking farmers.
But she came straight from the WEF.
I remember that, and I remember them saying, "But she's a Republican," and it's like, yeah, well, what the hell does that mean? It's been so funny to watch like all of these conservatives immediately revert to identity politics when Israel is involved.
Here's fun fact: as the chairman of the Ad Council, she partnered with the Biden administration to create a coronavirus vaccination campaign that featured the Pope.
Oh, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. I love that.
Wikipedia is proudly stating this about
her,
by the way.
It's so great. I love that Javier Milei calls him a dirty socialist, the Pope. What do you think about him?
Man. I haven't taken the time to really get to know. So first off, like, how are you going to be president and an ANCAP? I don't know that those two things add up. But I love how my left-leaning friends react. Like, the guy has a chainsaw. He's a fucking maniac. Like, that's what they need. Their inflation was like 150% last year.
Yeah.
They need a madman to come in. I like how the people actually love and respect him, but they also, it feels like really dictator-y the way that people react to him. So my thought there is like, with a dictator, people react to the person that way because they don't want to die.
Sure.
But they feel like super compelled. But like these people may actually feel that way. I feel like if shit gets much worse here and they continue down the AMCAP path, I might move down
Yeah, that'd be great. I worry that the CIA is just gonna kill him if he goes too hard, too fast, and does too much. Like I think like I've heard people, oh, he's going to the dollar. He's just gonna be a cuck to the USD, which it's like, hey man, do you want to get killed by the CIA or do you want to like incrementally improve things? Because if you just come out and say we're going on a Bitcoin standard, or we're going to gold. Like this isn't El Salvador. El Salvador is a small country that doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things. Like,
do they still have oil?
Oh, who? Argentina?
Venezuela.
Oh,
or sorry,
Argentina. Yeah, they got a lot of oil. They have a ton of resources.
They're
the second biggest like country in South America. I think they might even be bigger than Brazil. I'm not sure. But like, you can't make too many waves when you're that big. Like, if you want to live.
Yeah. So I don't know. Like, I don't understand how things are going so bad here, like on a world stage, if it's actually controlled. That's one thing that I've been really thinking a lot about lately. Like, how is the vice president over in Abu Dhabi or Dubai saying that we need to fund more for the Palestinians and forgetting about what Israel, like, I don't understand that. I'm not on one side or the other because like I haven't taken the time to really understand that area. All I know is like a bunch of bad shit happens there.
Good luck understanding it, really. Like it's such a freaking mess.
But as far as like the line for America in my lifetime is we've always supported Israel, always without condition. And now we have a vice president that's over in Dubai or Abu Dhabi saying that we need to get more funding for the Palestinians. And I'm like, how? And also leading up to that attack, we released $4 or $6 billion, and that money was owed from Iraq to Iran for power. Like that's the 6 billion or 4 billion that you hear about that funded, and like maybe that money didn't directly fund this attack, but like they took money out of one pocket and put it in the other because that money got freed up. Since that attack, I heard that we released another $10 billion of money that was owed from Iraq to Iran.
Jesus.
And how, like, so like that, or not, I'm not saying that that order is great or whatever. I'm saying that that status quo that's been there my whole life, that it, like, that's all just gone. So like who's doing that? Why is my question. Like, why are we letting our big cities crumble? Like, what's the end of that? Because like, you're not going to come to the middle of America and do that. But like, that shit ain't happening, bro.
No, it's not happening.
Now that I've been in Tennessee for a couple of months, yeah, there's no shot.
I would be careful what you say. So I live in Boise, and you would think that same thing of well, I don't live in Boise. I live in Nampa, which is like 30 miles. And you would think that same thing of here, like Idaho. You're not going to fuck around in Idaho. Like it's literally the most conservative state in the country based on the numbers. But Boise is a mini San Francisco. You know, we got rid of our left-leaning Democrat mayor for a further left Democrat mayor. You know, and all of this bullshit, like homeless people sitting on the streets in all of these cities, that all started in Boise. There was a Supreme Court case here that declared moving somebody's camp gear a violation of human rights. So now all over the country, if you move that shit, you're a Nazi essentially. And that started here, which you wouldn't think.
In the I live in the neighborhood in Nashville, which I have this weird. I like being in the I guess more liberal areas and conservative, because my wife's an artist. We enjoy music, and like that stuff kind of flourishes in the more liberal areas.
Yeah, I agree with you on that.
Drive a half hour out of town, it's a different story. So like, yes, it might happen in the cities, sure, but like that's not. Like, you're just not going to be able. I think it was Stalin that said he would never try to invade America because there's a gun behind every blade of grass. Yeah,
and that's what's going on up here. But like, you know, Greater Idaho, which I'm a huge proponent of Greater Idaho. Like, I think that needs to happen immediately, and it would be great for every state in this country to see that things can be done differently. Like, I think like 11 of 13 counties in Southern Oregon have already signed on to Greater Idaho. The only thing stopping Greater Idaho from happening is Boise. They don't want it. They don't want it. They're trying to go more liberal. They're not trying to get, be a redder
Oh,
state, essentially.
also, just to rewind for a second on the Elon Musk data
Yeah,
center,
yeah.
Oregon, the climate is so much better there
Oh yeah,
for
I
a
mean
data
for
center.
yeah, for a data center, you're right. Like yeah, it's going to be nice and cool. You're going to I guess that 10
Than
million
Atlanta,
dollars goes a long way towards air conditioning, but yeah, I mean if you're going to get 10 million
10
in
billion.
Portland, 10 billion. Yeah, 10
Yeah.
billion.
And also, I went to Atlanta a couple months ago, and so I grew up in Detroit. We moved out of Detroit shortly after we had our first black mayor, and I haven't felt racial tension like that since I was a child in Detroit. When I went to Atlanta, Atlanta crumbled after COVID. It's so much hate in the air, so much. It was like really because like Nashville is an incredibly integrated city. Like there's like a lot of black folks, a lot of white folks. Everybody's just like living their life. Atlanta, like we even went to Five Guys, and I didn't hear this, but my buddy we ordered, and the cashier yelled, "They want that white people cheese," which
Ugh.
means spit on their food. And like the whole, like there was just like this real tension, this real feel of hate in that city, and I guess that's just tangential because you mentioned it because Elon was
Yeah.
talking about moving
No,
there,
dude,
but it's unfortunate, it's really unfortunate to see the country kind of come to that.
I felt it myself. I got married in 2015. My ex-wife is Iranian, half Iranian, so she's Persian. And I never once, when we were dating or engaged, ever even considered like it might be a problem to do an interracial. Like the thought never entered my mind. Now it
Yeah,
would because it's all in the freaking zeitgeist, essentially. But like
yeah,
back then in San Francisco, nobody thought about nobody like everybody knew that I came from Northern California and I like guns. And if you would ask them, they'd say, "Oh yeah, he's probably different than we are." But it didn't matter. Like we all got along. Like I liked hanging out in the liberal areas too. I lived in the Upper Castro. I ended up living in like the more urban area, but like even back then, like I was never scared to live by the Cow Palace in San Francisco, which is
right.
very urban, very dangerous, but I never felt that. Like I would always stop on my dirt bike down at the liquor store. I'd never worried about leaving it outside. The guys who like hung out down on the corner at the bus stop, they called me White House because I was the only White House in the neighborhood. And it was
Yeah.
just like I had a great time. But now, like, I don't use Facebook anymore because I have to advertise on it. And if I get kicked off of it or say the wrong thing, I don't want them like screwing with my advertising. But like during COVID, I was getting called every name in the book by the most liberal people I knew in San Francisco. And it just, you know, what do you know? You live out in the middle of a cow pasture. And it's like, dude, a million people live in this valley. Like I sit in traffic just like you do, you know?
Yeah.
And it was really great. Like I just never expected those people to treat me in that way. It was wild.
God, I wish I could remember what podcast I was listening to where they were talking about immutable differences. So like I can't change the color of my skin.
Yet.
But I mean fair. I might be able to throw a filter on. But like that before we used to be able to get around these differences, like you're a Republican, I'm a Democrat, neither of those things are true. But we can meet and talk about that, but like and we can change opinions. I think the guy started off saying like I had this opinion about this one thing, and then I was faced with evidence that I was wrong with my opinion, so I changed it. But now the thing that we aren't arguing about is this thing where I can change my opinion because I was wrong. The thing that we're arguing about is because I'm white, or I'm this, or I'm that, and by making the differences that we argue about immutable, it just drives this tear or this division, and there's nothing we can do about it if that's what we're talking about.
Which is a
And yeah,
which is a
it was a very
perfect
good point.
it's a divide and conquer, strategy for the elites. Like how do we get these people at each other's throats and instead of being at us, let's make them mad at each other for things that they have no control over.
It was Tucker Carlson on the All In podcast.
Ah, he's
Also, I
had some
never
he's had some great interviews in the past few weeks.
I never took the time to listen to the dude while he was on Fox because it was
Yeah.
Fox. It's just like corporate media. But now I saw him on the All In podcast, which it's worth a listen, especially if you're interested in business and shit. But like
Yeah.
he went off of the business topic and just like really the way I think about things really lined up with the way that he expressed himself and stated things. So I would recommend anybody listen to that.
Yeah, I enjoy his show. I think he does great interviews, and I think he's been on the other end of some great interviews lately. I watched him on Fox at least once a week because I like to see what other people are seeing a lot of the
Yeah.
times. Like, I don't watch Joe Rogan much anymore. He kind of
Same.
talks about the same thing over and over again. Like, I've kind of heard him talk about mushrooms.
Have you tried
and-
DMT?
Yeah, exactly. Like, I've heard it so many times. But I watch Dave Smith every time he goes on because I want to hear like what he's telling 10 million people because it's important a lot of times. And I felt the same way with Tucker. It's like I want to hear what the right half of America is hearing. And I always felt that was a worthful watch because even like
Tucker
there were
has
times where I completely disagreed with him. I remember during COVID one time he brought a liberal on to be like, he loved bringing liberals on to be like, I thought it was my body, my choice. And they would say, when it comes to vaccine. And then he literally did that with, he had a liberal come on and say, the whole deal. And then his next segment was bringing somebody on to say how bad marijuana was and why it should still be legal. And it's just like, what are we doing here, dude? It's bodily autonomy 5 seconds ago, and now we're right back to it's no longer my body, my choice. So that like he bothers me with stuff like that, but I like him.
Yeah. He had some like pretty really. So I think the biggest thing that I think about, and if you're on my side with this, like I can look over some of that bullshit, is just war. I'm just like so against war, and like the way that he talked about it, and the way that he thought about it, it really spoke to me. And I haven't heard somebody that's that popular with an articulate opinion. Because like Rogan's like, I don't know anything, I'm just a dumb comedian. It's
Exactly.
like you really don't hear a stance from him. But like Tucker took like really hard stances, and I'm like, wow, maybe I should have given this guy a shot before. Because like if we're gonna talk about ending wars, I don't care what your stated belief system and affiliation system is. Like if we can stop taking lives, I want to listen to what you have to say.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you. If you've got a Venn diagram of like libertarian, conservative, Democrat, like Tucker's going to be right closest to where we're at, and I really appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely.
What else has been on your radar?
That's been about it. This fucking dog is kept. So we have to. I have we've been before we got the dog. We've been going to bed like 9:30, 10, getting up, going to the gym, doing like healthy shit, procuring really good food. And now my wife goes to bed at 9, and I have to stay up till 1:32, and then my wife has to get up at 4 with the dog. So like our whole world's been just centered around this thing. But the folks that did train our first dog really well, we're dropping him off. The closest trainer that they have is in Kentucky, so we have to drive up there and drop him off. But we get 2 weeks without him, and hopefully he'll come back and we'll have a little more normalcy.
Yeah, right. It sucks. Like I love my dog so much, and like I wouldn't trade him for anything. But goddamn, does he make my life hard sometimes? And it's worth it.
I was really disappointed in myself. Like, how could something that's 3 pounds and 2 ounces control me emotionally? Like I thought I've grown. Like I've been working and growing and trying to get rid of ego and like all those things. And then, like this little fucking dog, it's just making me so angry. I'm like, God damn, I still have a lot of work to do.
Yeah, I do. I mean. Like I let the dog sleep in my bed because I'm a white pusher. Like that's a white person thing, obviously.
Yeah.
But like, I thought like I'm divorced. I haven't really been dating in the past few years. Like I have fake teeth, so I can't eat out, and that's kind of a big deal if I can't really go out to a dinner. But like the dog attacks me when I get back into bed after taking a piss. How am I supposed to bring a chick over with that? You know what I mean? It's like. And I don't want to I'd have to lock him out of the room, and that would just make me feel horrible. I wouldn't even be able to sleep.
One thing that's been on my radar, and I have the Wikipedia page up behind the Zoom.
Yeah.
And the sentence that I read is under Musk and Yasharino's leadership, hate speech has increased on the platform, and it made me think about community notes.
Oh yeah.
Have you done it?
Oh
So
yeah.
I became a community notes person,
Oh
and like going like so what you have to sign volunteer. It's not a paid position, and then you have to rate a certain number of community notes, and if your ratings are like consistent with other people, you get to like make your own. But since I'm on community notes, it's like the left has really tried to weaponize that, and it's not working.
yeah.
Like every tweet that Elon makes, there's like a hateful pointed community note after everything. It's like Elon Musk is like, I believe that we should all love each other. And the first community note that to rate is Elon Musk had the chance to make love and peace an option, but instead he weaponized Twitter as a far right thing. And it's
Wow.
even for entertain. Well, number one, I would encourage everybody that listens to go become a community notes person if you have some free time instead of doom scrolling, looking at booties on Instagram or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, go kind of participate in this ecosystem because it's like what Wikipedia should have been, what Reddit should have been. And there's a chance for maybe I don't even consider myself conservative, just like dissenting voices
Not
or more
left.
factual, not left voices to state facts and support each other, just like getting the truth to surface. So now, like the president's tweets are getting
I saw
community
that.
noted, which are fucking amazing.
It's hilarious a lot of the times too.
And Elon Musk even put out something that was like not factual. He got community noted and it was voted properly, and then like he had to correct his statement. And I think that like that as much of a socialist as he is. And I think he's like from this idealist socialism, not the we should kill everybody
Yeah,
socialism,
yeah.
but
Like Glenn Greenwald.
yeah. um that like there's a chance there for people that think like us to maybe help spread more truth by doing that,
Yeah, it seems
by
like it's been working
participating.
pretty good so far.
Yeah.
I've been nuts deep in this fucking MH370 deal, which you're gonna fucking love that when you dig into it. But they had this group of fucking three idiots that are like that are VHX guys. They're called Corridor Crew. You might have heard of them. They make a lot of videos on the internet, and they went through it and they're like, oh, it's fake. Da, 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 da. And they went through a couple reasons why they saw it was fake. But like the guy who's been doing the whole deal on this thing had already like those had been the first debunkers points. Like it was this, it was this, it was this. And he goes through and goes, no, it's not. No, it's not. This is why, blah, 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 blah. And so the guys who do the Corridor Crew thing, they don't look at any of the research at all. All they do is watch the video. And they make the same mistakes that the other guys are making. But now every time you click on this MH370 thing, it goes, it's been debunked. And it goes down to this, video for them. And there's also a lot of like incentive to do something like that, because now anytime you click on that, anything from that video, it takes you right to their YouTube channel.
And they get paid.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, one thing to I have to get going.
Yeah, sure. I was just looking over at the time right now.
Well, I don't know if the board. I'm on a board at UNLV. I help students there like learn about venture capital, and we have a meeting. But there's a mass shooting going on right now there.
Oh, you're kidding me.
No,
right
so
now.
I don't know if it's before we got on here.
Oh, I see.
And my buddy's sister teaches there, so like I kind of got to get.
Yeah, dude. Let's call it.
If I need to be on that, so
no worries, man.
It's always great being on here, man. I'd like to do this frequently too.
Yeah, dude. And to be honest, like I looked down. I feel bad asking people too much. I'm like, I don't want to take up their time or anything. So I was actually happy when you reached out to me. I was like, okay, cool. Like I'm not bothering.
Yeah. Well, maybe I won't wait for another AI thing to happen.
Yeah, dude. Anytime. Like I'm free. I'm home all day. Like I'm down to do this anytime.
Oh, we'll do 3 guys 4 arms soon.
That'd be great. That'd be awesome.
Yeah.
All right, man. Take care, dude. We'll talk to you next time. We're skipping the music.